How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. I do hope you're all well, and thank you for tuning in to my new video. So if you're not familiar with the channel, on the 5th of December I have my first MMA fight. That's currently around 37 days away, so just over a month, around 5 weeks before I have my first MMA fight. And I'm currently making videos along the way, and I will be doing afterwards too, just documenting the whole experience of what it's like. And hopefully, God willing, next year I'll be having a few more competitions and I'll be making some nice content for you guys, so you can see what it's like, because a lot of you might be wondering how it is compared to the big stage in the UFC, and that's what the purpose of the content is to do, to make you guys aware of how the fighting scene is in the UK, especially in the lower region, and then eventually one day we will get to the high level. So what I wanted to talk about today was just best martial art, or the best practice to go into or to follow if you want to become a UFC champion. And the UFC is around 30 years old, and we've seen champions who have been judo guys, wrestlers, sambo guys, pure strikers, pure kickboxers, pure jiu-jitsu guys. And personally, I think you need a base of wrestling, and you need a high guard game with a high jiu-jitsu level, and your striking also has to be good, your boxing and your head movement. So what I would say is, firstly, I would work on my ground game, my jiu-jitsu, my submissions in my guard, and close guard, open guard, rolling around, sparring in BJJ. I would work on my BJJ first. Next, I would cover my wrestling, how to actually get to the ground. How do you get to the ground? Takedowns, trips, throws. This is all to do with wrestling. Judo is good for trips and throws and takedowns, however that's in a gi, where you wear like a karate style gi. However, wrestling, you do it no gi, so it's more realistic in a UFC fight. So I would say high level BJJ, you know, you look at someone like Charles Oliveira, the most finishes in the UFC. High level on the ground. And even compared to Mateusz Gamrot, who's a good wrestler and beat Arman Tsarukyan, Oliveira finished Gamrot because his wrestling wasn't as good. His chain wrestling, freestyle wrestling wasn't as good. However, on the ground, he is a nightmare as soon as you get to the floor. And jiu-jitsu is just as important as wrestling, because in wrestling competitions, the match finishes as soon as the opponents touch the floor and as soon as there's a pin. However, in BJJ, that's really just when it starts. As for striking, you look at someone like Ilia Topuria with the boxing and the head movement. I do think that's super important. His kicks aren't that good, Ilia Topuria's. However, his striking, his hands are amazing. And his head movement and his timing, his accuracy also, it's all very high level. So I would definitely say you have to have a good base in boxing, because that is all to do with your head movement, your footwork, setting up the striking, as well as actually building the power from your hips to connect to your opponent. So personally, my opinion is wrestling and BJJ is harder to pick up. So that's why I started that sooner, and that's why I do it more often, because the striking is easy to land a lucky shot, and I feel like in BJJ and wrestling it's really hard to land something good unless you fully practice and you know what you're doing there, and you spend hours on the wrestling mat. So I would say the ground game is definitely more important. And you know, we saw this with Khabib and Conor, high level kickboxer, great kicks, great throws. However, when he was on the ground, he was getting mauled with ground and pound, and then he eventually tapped out to Khabib. His neck got cranked, and that was the wrap. Because the UFC is more like a street fight. You know, you look at boxing, there is high level boxers like Usyk, Canelo, Crawford, Tyson Fury. However, if you compare them to UFC fighters, it's just a complete different level, because in a street fight, more than likely it's going to end up on the ground, and if you don't know what to do, then you're going to be stuffed. So you have to really think about your ground game and cover all aspects of UFC. It's not like it used to be, where you had a kickboxer taking on a grappler. Now everyone knows everything. Number one pound for pound fighter right now is Ilia Topuria. He has high level wrestling, high level BJJ, high level striking, and I would say his only downfall is his kicks, really. However, if you compare it to the striking of Islam Makhachev's, Islam has better kicks, however his punches aren't as good, and his power that he generates isn't as powerful as Ilia Topuria's, because we saw it when they both fought Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Topuria needed to land one combination, he got it off, and Oliveira went to sleep in the first round. Islam Makhachev landed some good strikes on Oliveira, however the power difference was quite substantial between the two fighters. However, if you're comparing the sambo and the ground game, I'd have to give it to Islam Makhachev. And that's why I think the ground game is the most important thing in the UFC. And if you have good wrestling, you can dictate where the fight takes place. If you know your striking isn't as good, just shoot double leg, take your opponent down. However, it's not always that simple, because we saw a few weeks ago Big Ankalaev got knocked out in round 1 to Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, high level kickboxer, Glory world champion. However, that guy's power is just different. The average person isn't going to have power in their hands like Alex Powertown Pereira, especially in the lower weight classes. But I do definitely think wrestling is important, because it dictates where the fight takes place. And that's what Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov always used to say: if you can control your opponent, you win the fight. And that's really important in the UFC. And I do believe that's why we're now seeing a lot of wrestlers and grapplers and BJJ guys get to that next level in the UFC. So it's not just about striking. You can't just be a good kickboxer. If you wanted to be a good kickboxer, then you have to go to a kickboxing club, or you have to do a Muay Thai competition. However, MMA is different. You need to cover all aspects, and the most important aspect to cover is your ground game, because if you can control your ground game, you can control where the fight takes place. And that's why I'm currently training a lot of wrestling for my first fight, for that particular reason. But yeah, man, I just thought I'd get the camera out, have a little bit of a chat about some of my favorite aspects of MMA. Drop a comment down below if you want to see any future video ideas, and also leave a like, rating and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.